Hi everyone. Wanted to welcome you to our new YouTube channel, Uber, the Ride to Financial Freedom. Pretty specific name for a pretty specific story. This channel will go through details of why I think Uber as a stock and as a company is positioned for radical growth over the next few months and years. And so this channel will go through details about this opportunity, which I think is one of the most unique opportunities in the market. So one quick disclaimer: this is not financial advice. It's just one excited dude talking about Uber and doing analysis, compiling information, sharing news and excitement about the story. Hope you guys find it useful. And I would love to hear from you guys as we go through this story. So this episode is what I would call the pilot. It's the first episode. So I'm going to go through the basic thesis that I have over this company that I've studied for years, and why I think we are in a very special moment in terms of a point of inflection for the company, for the stock, and a tremendous opportunity here. So, a little bit of the background story about Uber. As you guys know, Uber has suffered quite a bit from the pandemic in terms of its core business, the ride business, that was heavily disrupted throughout the pandemic. And so many investors at that point, whether retail or funds, had to basically take a pause from this investment and think about whether long term it was a viable business. Because, at some point, many of us thought, how long is this going to take? Do they have enough cash to endure this type of crisis? I was an investor prior to the COVID crisis, and when it started, I had to pull out. And the reason is there was too much uncertainty. Other funds are better prepared to weather this type of disruptions. But as an individual investor, I thought I couldn't afford the risk, and there was just too much uncertainty in the future. And also, the CEO, Dara, was relatively new to the position. But honestly, Uber's ability to weather this thunderstorm has been tremendous. It's been an extremely positive story. Not only have competitors weakened, but also Uber is stronger than ever. They got plenty of cash coming out of this crisis. And also, its core business, which I refer to as the ride business, is now actually the Eats business. So Uber Eats has grown a lot over the last 2 years. It used to be, I think, about a quarter of the ride business in terms of volume, and now Uber Eats is actually bigger than the ride business worldwide. I expect this to even out or even rides to go back to be the core business, but in the meantime, it has shown the resilience of the model. Their ability to basically grow on the basis of a stay at home story, while their core businesses was taking a pause and still thrive. They haven't been close to bankruptcy or had major liquidity issues throughout the COVID crisis, and they're back at top. And also, as I mentioned before, many of their competitors have weakened. So a lot of excitement in this story. As you guys know, travel is coming back big, and they were highly dependent on that because of rides to the airport, and tourists, when they get to a new city, they're likely to use Uber versus local taxis and whatnot. And so I got excited about the story again as the world was opening up. I saw what Eats was doing, and I was like, well, if you add Eats and how much it's grown to the significance of the comeback of rides and the strong cash position, This seems like an exciting growth story. And not only is it here, we're looking at the revenues over the last few quarters. As you guys can see, the peak was Q4 2019. As you can see here, about 4 billion in revenue in a quarter. They're heading for 6 billion now, so it's over 50%, and the recovery hasn't quite happened yet. I mean, the Asian markets are not, in terms of travel, not growing as much, or back to where they were. Americans are not traveling globally as much as they used to. There's still a lot of things that have to go back to normal to really compare apples to apples here. And even with all of that, we're seeing a business that is growing 50% roughly, almost, from the peak. And if you look at rides and you compare it to the peak, there's still a lot of growth there to even come back to the peak. Um, Add to this the fact that the CEO just mentioned in a recent interview that rides should see an all-time high in bookings and revenue this year. So that blue area there in 2021 should be higher than this blue area here in 2019. So add that growth on top of all of this, and you're looking at you know 60-70% growth from the peak. So with all these excellent news, you kind of expect the stock to be about double than when it went public. Actually, when it went public, and that's, I believe, 2019. Um, yeah, 2018 or 2018 or 2019. I'll have to go back to that. But we're looking at 100% growth from those months, from those quarters. So uh, if you look at the resilience, the exponential growth of the model, the weakening of competitors, the strong cash position, and more importantly, we'll dive into that into other videos, the growth of its revenues to a point where they're going to be EBITDA positive. These are extremely positive catalyst for the stock. So yeah, I would expect, I think it was 41, 42, the stock when it went public. So you kind of expect it to be now nearly 90 and heading up from there. However, as you can see, the stock has gone down 23%, 22.93% if you compare it to when it went public. Um, so it's 100% up in terms of revenue. It's in a strong position. Not only that, it has cut down costs, and it is actually now cash flow positive for the foreseeable future. The year-over-year growth is going to be probably north of 60 or 70%, over 50% from the peak, and the stock hasn't even moved on. It's moved down. So the opportunity here is probably a 3x in my estimation of the next few months and years. There's very few companies, I think, right now that can offer that potential in the short mid-term, and the catalysts are super clear. Now, you may think there's a lot of growth stocks out there that have been beat down very dramatically over the last few months that may offer more attractive returns, but not many of them are cash flow positive, and not many of them have the competitive edge, sorry, that Uber has. Uber just has a massive competitive edge, and they're number one in the category, and they've displaced everybody. And over time, when you're competing with a smaller guy, they tend to take them out of the market, or make them suffer significantly. You only have to look at their rival Lyft's revenues to see how much advantage the number one in the category has over time. So that's basically the story, which is a significant story of growth, a very safe investment from, in my estimation, from the standpoint of the cash position, the competitive advantage, and where the world is going. And just the management has shown extreme resilience throughout the crisis throughout the COVID crisis. So a lot of excitement in future months. I kind of think that this is one that just the market is missing because there's so much turmoil with everything else, and there's short-term stories like the oil crisis, and you know the growth story is getting pressure, but this one is a story that I think stands out, and then in a few months we feel like how was the market not seeing this before? So anyway, a lot to uncover. Just wanted to leave you with the fact that um, I'm starting this channel because I, I'm an investor in Uber. I'm really excited about this story, and I was looking for information myself, and I was like, man, there's just not a lot out there in terms of going through the details of what Uber's doing and what the opportunity is here. There's a lot of YouTube channels about analysis of different stocks, but for such a big story, not really a lot to uncover that has been uncovered here. So wanted to do this for myself and also for others that may be interested. So if you have found this valuable, I would really appreciate if you subscribed and liked and commented and or shared this with others. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and I will upload more like these in the near future. Stay tuned.